What's going on, Vikings fans? Welcome in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and happy Monday to all of you guys watching. And coming up on today's show, we got two wild trade rumors around Jalen Ramsey and then also Jordan Addison. Quick little tease here on the Jordan Addison trade. It is an awful idea, so just stay tuned for that. We'll break it all down in full on today's show. But before we do so, if you guys could help us reach our next milestone here on the channel, which is 56,000 subscribers, my goal is to hit that before the draft starts next Thursday night. So if you guys want to help me out, make me look good for my bosses here at Chat Sports, go down there, hit that subscribe button. We're currently at 55,784. So if you guys could hit that subscribe button today, don't miss a thing around your Minnesota Vikings. All right, so let's dive into this Jalen Ramsey trade rumor, or is it a Tyreek Hill trade rumor? So Slick Rick scoops on Twitter. This is a NFL insider, allegedly, that has his profile pic as a dog. And, over the past couple of off seasons, he's had a lot of big scoops early. He's also had a lot of misses, but there is at least enough of a track record there that he at least has some source inside the NFL. And he tweeted this out late last Friday saying, breaking, big trade for the Dolphins. The Dolphins are trading away an all-pro player. Now, a lot of people assume that was going to be for Tyreek Hill, all-pro player. He's been in a lot of the latest trade rumors around the NFL. But also, I think this could be meant for Jalen Ramsey because Ramsey is the only other all-pro player on the Dolphins roster. So a lot of people think this is for Tyreek Hill, but let's just talk about it. And what if it is for Jalen Ramsey and why the Vikings could make a lot of sense? And the reason I'm going to connect the Vikings to this is because of their cap space right now heading into 2025. Sits at $18.16 million. It is 22nd in the league, but a lot of people are kind of raising their, eyebrows at, why are the Vikings, backloading all these deals, still creating a lot of cap space open for 2025? Is it a big trade? Is it just to save money to go sign a backup quarterback, after the draft? But with all these backup quarterbacks pretty much off the board, besides a guy like Carson Wentz or like a Teddy Bridgewater, who will only run you about $2-3 million, got to pay your draft class with about $7-8 million. So a lot of people are wondering, why are the Vikings keeping all this cap space? Well, what if it's for Jalen Ramsey? So if the team that is trading for Jalen Ramsey, here's how his cap hits would shake out over the next 4 seasons. So it is $5.25 million this upcoming year, so that would fit the Vikings books. That's $12 million in 26, $12 million in 27, and then 2028, it's $23.13 million. And I think this would leave the Vikings cornerback room looking absolutely disgusting. Like, you would have 2 top-end guys in Byron Murphy and Jalen Ramsey, which also this would allow Byron Murphy to play more of an, slot role, which he did play a ton this past season for Brian Flores and that group. But then you would have Jalen Ramsey be that guy on the outside. You got your rotational guys, be Mekhi Blackman when you're in nickel. You also float in Isaiah Rodgers in there. And then you got kind of the, diamond in the rough, all types of potential, but also super low floor at the same time in a guy like Jeff Okudah. But if this is your 5-man cornerback rotation, I think the Vikings would have one of the better groups in the whole National Football League. And I think if you were to consider going all in on Jalen Ramsey, it would be a definition of an all-in move. Like, he is that true all-pro cornerback. You can just stick him on one side of the field, and he'll shut that down. He is 30 years old, so a little older, but I still believe he has a lot more of, honestly, all-pro caliber seasons. Maybe 1 or 2 left in the NFL, and, Brian Flores would love to get him in this system. Just a guy who's a great tackler as well, very aggressive corner. And I think he likes playing with that mentality where it's like, yeah, I got no safety help over the top. We're bringing the house on this play. I just got to do my job for 3 to 4 seconds. And Jalen Ramsey is that type of player. So what could a trade package look like between the Dolphins and the Vikings? We're going to keep it simple on this one. And maybe this is an overpay for Minnesota. But I think if the Vikings want to get Jalen Ramsey, this could possibly get it done. It would just be sending your first-round pick for this season, pick number 24. Now, do I love giving up, our only premium draft pick for the 2025 draft for a 30-year-old corner? On paper, I don't love it. But also in the NFL, you got to take a risk if you want to get over that hump. And we saw the Eagles take a number of risks. The Chiefs over the past couple years taking risks. Just even them just trading Tyreek Hill was a risk. It resulted in 2 more Super Bowls because of the way they were able to draft. This is kind of on the other end of the spectrum where the Vikings are kind of taking a Los Angeles Rams route, where when the Rams, they won that Super Bowl at Stafford, they traded for Von Miller at the deadline, picked up Odell Beckham Jr. They really said, F them picks, and that kind of phrase got really, really, in the mainstream media because of the Los Angeles Rams. So this trade, I believe, could get it done for the Minnesota Vikings, and you would be still picking up one of the better cornerbacks in the league. Here's Ramsey's PFF grades from this past season: 76.9 overall, 16th out of all 222 eligible corners. Pass rush grade has that versatility, 76.5. Actually had the most pressures out of any corner in the league this past season, but great in the run game as well. A willing tackler, which we obviously know Brian Flores. He asked his cornerbacks to do just that, 85.7 there. And then coverage, still solid, 71.9 as well. And, I think if you're thinking about this Vikings defense, you love the front seven. You got Hargrave, Allen, Turner, Van Ginkel, Harrison Phillips, Jonathan Gennard. You got your great linebacker duo and Ivan Pace Jr., Blake Cashman. But really, what would be the cherry on top? I think it would be trading for an all-pro cornerback like a guy like Jalen Ramsey, because you still got Byron Murphy, who I think could be a great cornerback one, but I already know he is a great cornerback too. I still like the safety room with Metella Smith and now Theo Jackson taking that next step. I think Jalen Ramsey would be that cherry on top. You already got the cake, you already got the ice cream, you already got the sprinkles, or icing, not ice cream. But I think Jalen Ramsey would be the cherry on top. I think this would solidify the Vikings having top 3 unit. Then you pair up that top 3 defensive unit with Kevin O'Connell, all those weapons, and you bank on J.J. McCarthy. We could be looking at a top 7 offense, top 3 defense, and that could be a recipe for a Super Bowl. I'll ask you guys this. Would you accept this trade? Jalen Ramsey for pick number 24 in this year's 2025 first round of the NFL draft. You guys let me know. Would you accept this trade? Give me an A for accept or give me a D for decline. Now, coming up next year on the show, we're going to dive into a wild Jordan Addison trade rumor. It was this recent mock draft, which actually had the Vikings pairing their first round pick with Jordan Addison to move up to land another wide receiver. So stay tuned for that. But before we do so, I got to tell you guys about today's presenting sponsor, and that is Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Game Time makes getting tickets faster and easier, even for hard-to-get playoff seats. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA playoff tickets, and with the Timberwolves taking on the Los Angeles Lakers and good old friend Luka Doncic back in Minneapolis, if you guys want to go to one of those games, it gets $20 off. They're going to be an expensive ticket. It's going to be must-watch TV, and if you guys have the chance to go there and you guys are free one of those nights and want to go, just make sure you plug in that promo code CHATSPORTS on your first purchase at Game Time, and you guys will get $20 off. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Got that link for you guys in the comment section and description of today's show. But check it out. Trust me, you guys won't regret it. All right, let's dive into this Jordan Addison trade idea. And I saw this and I just got a huge chuckle on my face. It's I get the thought process of this deal, but at the same time, this just makes zero sense for the Minnesota Vikings. So here's the deal that they presented out there. And it was Jordan Addison, pick number 24, and the Vikings move up to pick number 14. So what they're telling me here is Jordan Addison's trade value on the open market is pretty much just moving up 10 spots in the first round. Now, I would love for the Vikings to get a top 15 pick. However, if you're giving up Jordan Addison to do so, I think that would be a massive, massive mistake. And you may be saying, well, who did they have the Vikings taking if they're trading up to pick 14? Because now we would have a huge wide receiver 2 need on the roster. Well, the Vikings would be drafting Missouri wide receiver Luther Burden III. I'm a massive Luther Burden III fan. I think he is no doubt a top 3 wide receiver in this year's class. He really reminds me of like a Brandon Ayuk type receiver. He's got a little Stephon Diggs in his game as well. And, he was awesome for Missouri and a big reason why they've been a borderline top 25 team over the last 2 seasons. And, his past year in 12 games played, the production's not crazy, but he was still very effective. 676 yards, 11.1 yards per catch, had 6 touchdowns. He also has some dual threat ability that would give him the ball in jet sweeps, just put him in the backfield. He's really one of those guys, just definition of playmaker. Get the football in his hands, and he will go make plays. But the problem is with this deal is you are banking on Luther Burden stepping in day one and having just as much of an impact as Jordan Addison did. Now, I understand the thought process where they're saying, the Vikings, they're going to have to make a decision on Jordan Addison either next summer or the year after. Probably going to want to pay him early, so might as well just kind of use his value right now to trade up in the draft. But also with this year's NFL draft, I feel like picks 13 through 35, it's relatively the same value. So the only argument you can make to make this deal make sense to me is if it's hey, Kevin O'Connell, Kwesi, they view Luther Burden as a better prospect and a better wide receiver day one than Jordan Addison. If they wholeheartedly believe in that, I would trust in them. But also, I think Jordan Addison in this year's wide receiver class, he would be the number one wide receiver taken. He's a better prospect than McMillan. He's a better prospect than Matthew Golden. I think he also is a significantly better prospect than Luther Burden the third. So overall, I just think this isn't enough trade value to deal Addison. Now, we have talked about it on the channel. I would be willing to move off Addison for just a flat-out first-round pick this season, but not also giving up your own first-round pick. But honestly, with the way Addison and Jefferson, the way their games complement each other, I just don't think this makes total sense for the Vikings. And, in his first two seasons, Jordan Addison, we talk about what a hot start Jefferson has had to his NFL career. Jordan Addison's right there with him. Over 1,750 yards during his first 2 years, 19 touchdowns, which is awesome. And this was with the quarterbacks like Kirk Cousins for the first half of the year before. Then it was Josh Dobbs, Nick Mullins, Jaron Hall. Then obviously Sam Darnold had a great year for the Vikings this past season, but he still hasn't had, that true go-to quarterback, which hopefully J.J. McCarthy is. So I'll toss this question your guys' way. What say you on this one? Would you trade Jordan Addison? Give me a T for trade, P for pass. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. See you guys next time. As always, SKOL Vikes.